Hey, and welcome for another edition of the Pokemon Go Fireside Chat. Also, because I'm recording this the day before I actually do a podcast, I'm keeping this as short as possible, so I'm probably be breezing through events a little quicker than last time, and only talking about the ones that I really have, prominent memories about. For race, we got the rest of the Legendary Beasts, a little intermission of Latios and Latias, as well as the Legendary Birds, to coincide along with the Kanto Tour week. And there was a nice variety of Mega Pokemon in the Mega Pool. I think the new one for this month they released was Mega Gyarados. And Spotlight Hours featured Ekans, Melkins, Luvdisc, and Pikachu. It was kind of meh. The Meltank one not only had a good shiny that was just recently released, at least during the time period of the Spotlight Hour, but it was Double Stardust, so that was definitely one of the best ones of the month. You can never really complain about Double Catch XP. Now that level 50 is a thing. Pikachu was the worst one objectively. I don't really care because it's Spotlight Hour, but it's just I can't really think of anything good to say about Pikachu. I guess it was if you missed out on Pikachu Community way back and never got the opportunity to get a shiny one without a hat, I guess it was a fair opportunity for that. I guess the good thing is that all these had shinies, so there's at least, even if the bonus wasn't great, if you're a shiny collector, there was some reason to go out for them. Things like Luvdisc and Ekans, I kind of was more met to just because I already had them already. But the Meltank one was nice. I specifically remember really wanting to go out to play, specifically for Meltank Spotlight Hour, but unfortunately, there was a combination of me having a bad day that day and just being real cold and wintry and just winter being winter to the point where it just really didn't feel like going out at all. On a tangent of things that I wish I could have spent more time with, there was a Team Go Rocket celebration, basically a new Shadow Pokemon shakeup, including the leaders. Shoutouts to the way that they handled it though, because they not only brought in 2 new Shadow Pokemon for the Rocket leaders, but they brought back an old one, which is kind of a big criticism that I have of the current way that shiny hunting works with Shadow Pokemon. They make it so rare, and even though they give us a very generous amount of time to find them, because they're so rare, oftentimes, you could play hard and never get one. So it's kind of nice when they do bring them back, but I kind of get it would be old if they just constantly rotated back to the old ones. So my original thought was thinking they needed to do more special events, like Go Fest, where they brought back a bunch of the old shadow Pokemon for the Rocket leaders. But this is a fair compromise as well, giving us 2 new ones and bringing back an old one. It helps that the one they brought back was Beldum, which is not only a fantastic shadow Pokemon if you can find a way to get Community Day move on it, but it's a gorgeous shiny. So out of all the options they could have brought back, this was definitely one of the better ones to bring back for a long period of time. Because even if you don't get the shiny, there's still good reasons to try and hunt for the best Shadow Beldum that you can get your hands on. Then there was the Lunar event, which I believe was when they released Mega Gyarados, so that was cool. And I can't really remember anything fantastic that happened during that event, but I do recall it being an overall positive experience. The Valentine's Day event, I wish I could say the same thing for, but I do not have good memories with that collection challenge. It was the closest I've gotten to taking a break from the game for the longest period of time, and I'm going to leave the collection challenge thing at that. It also, I guess the one other thing I'll add is, it brings up a whole discussion that I feel like I'm constantly in disagreement with people of what makes a challenge and what makes bad accessibility. In my opinion, it feels like people get the two mixed up too often, and I guess part of the reason I didn't like the Valentine's Day event was that collection challenge highlighted that in particular. It was raid focused, let's just stop being around the bush. I did not like how raid focused it was. It's one thing to have 2 different legendaries in there, because at least they're legendaries with shiny introduced. There's at least a reason to hunt for them. But you also have had to get Umbreon and Espeon, which is cool, minus for the fact that they were exclusive to 3-star raids, and because it was a collection challenge, you couldn't just evolve an Eevee up to it. I completed that collection challenge, but I'm never going to do something like that again. In fact, I completed that collection challenge and then uninstalled Pokemon Go off my phone for the rest of the night, just because I was that bitter about the whole experience I had with it. Mind you, I did reinstall it the following day, so that doesn't really mean too much. But I just want to emphasize how the quote-unquote challenge just soured my entire experience with the event, and I think that's the first and only time I've had an event do that to me. In fact, if there's a collection challenge focused around where there's a raid exclusive Pokemon, unless it's a Pokemon that I actually want, and I'm not just going to burn a raid pass and transfer right away, I'm just not going to do it. I don't care how many free passes they give to me, because granted, they technically gave you just enough 3 remote raid passes, and then they gave another free remote raid pass later on. But we're not even including the factor of, what if you don't catch a legendary Pokemon on your first raid? Even besides that, it just did not feel good to spend raid passes on an activity that I did not want to take part in, an activity that just wasn't enjoyable. But enough dragging things down. And for some reason, my gut feels like it's a new thing, even though it doesn't feel like a new thing, if that makes any sense. They started doing weekly 1 Pokecoin bundles in the shop. For some reason, I only remember them starting to do this last month. Maybe because they did a while back, took a break and started to do it back again. But point being was, every week on a Monday, you gotta pick up a new single Pokecoin bundle, and they had stuff that was well worth the value. Majority of them had a remote raid pass, which would justify, with 100 coins would justify the cost of, let alone a single coin. And the one week that they didn't do a remote raid pass, they had 8 incense and a bunch of berries. So in my humble opinions, the 8 incense kind of felt worthwhile in and of itself. And the only other things I can think of to talk about while I'm reflecting back on this month are my personal Pokemon finds, Rosellia Community Day, and the Kanto Tour. Honestly, I feel like I've forgotten a lot of the Kanto Tour already, let alone Rosellia Community Day, so I could probably abridge it. As I'm recording this, though, I am just about to go live over on Twitch for March's Community Day, the one with Fletchling, so I think I should actually start getting ready to set up for that. So I'll see y'all back in a sec. So let's just jump right into Rosellia Community Day. It's been a while, so the longer I wait, the more foggy the memory's gonna be. In fact, I got to go blog thing just to give myself a quick rundown of what the bonuses even were during this time frame. Alright, hatch distance because baby form. So Rosellia was appearing more frequently in the wild, February 7th. I don't know what it is about these real early in the month community days, because February was all the way on the 7th. Fletchling Community Day was in the first week of March. And yet it really doesn't feel that long between Rosellia and Fletchling Community Day, even though they were both about as early in the month as possible. That said, a big, let's just call it a gimmick. I was going to call it a feature, but it's kind of played out more like a gimmick, was the fact that this is the first Community Day where they released 2 Community Day moves at once. Any Rosellia that evolved into Roserade during the time frame could learn Bullet Seed and the Fire-type Weather Ball. Interesting PvP moves at the very least. Bullet Seed kind of being a more energy-focused move, while Weather Ball giving it a bit of type coverage. Only 2 things I can think of to knock it down is the fact that it's yet another PvP-centric move, which, as someone who's focused on PvP, isn't the worst thing in the world, but I can kind of understand why people are starting to miss, moves that, give a Pokemon a distinct advantage in the raid scene. Also, the only other problem is that with this move pool, Rosellia has to compete with Sunnyform Cherim. And honestly, Cherim does this role a lot better, at least in Great League. I have been hearing things about it occasionally in Ultra League. That said, I don't really recall seeing too many of them in either league, especially like a month later after that particular community day. But I liked it. It was actually a controversial one at the time, just considering people were going through community day fatigue, or the repetition community day fatigue. Seemed like there was way too many community days that were that the shiny form was already released. I think like some people were upset that this kind of devalued the shiny of a Gold Fest that Rosellia was featuring. It must have been a long time ago, because I know it wasn't a remote Gold Fest. And I didn't even think about that until I heard other people bring it up on their podcast, and so I'm not gonna really stand by that defense, because I'm on the stance that repeat shiny community days don't have to be terrible. If we make the event itself great, either for the bonuses or just choosing a nice looking shiny or something like that, it can still be a fun community day. But I bring it up because I do understand the sentiment of where it could come from. I'd probably be more bi if it wasn't for the fact that there's only so many Pokemon. They are slowly releasing more and more, and we are far from being out of releasing new shinies. But in my mind, it's gotta happen eventually. Eventually we're gonna run out of shinies, and then what? It's just if we just have to rely on new shinies to make it community day, our community day is just gonna be completely ruined forever by the time every single shiny form comes out. I know I'm making a super hypothetical situation here, considering the factor that we're a long time away from that. Maybe not as far away as we think, though, if the current trend of just doing a Kanto Tour, the next region tour, and releasing shinies, all the shinies up that haven't been released yet for those particular events. I mean, I feel like it's kind of weird, because I also feel like I'm the only one that's not on that whole, yeah, let's bring out the Johto Tour train, and let's bring out the Hone Tour train. It's not that I would be opposed to those ideas. I think they're really cool, but I think we're like jumping the gun a little. I think at least a lot of people I've talked to about the idea or listened to are on the fence that we are a long time away, like maybe twice a year at the very most. But I kind of wonder if we're even gonna get. I didn't even think about us getting a Johto Tour until people were speculating over it. Mostly because I can understand why they did a Kanto Tour. It's just because of the, in my opinion, Kanto fatigue. Just constantly relying on Kanto, because that's what the nostalgia is what got a lot of people into Pokemon Go in the first place. Like, a lot of people, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a whole demographic of people who just played the whole Gen 1 games, dropped out of Pokemon, and only got back into it when Pokemon Go came out. I can see them being like comfort food, where you just go back to them because they're the ones you recognize the most. Okay, wait, that was a bit of a tangent just to say, I feel like they only made a big deal, they made a whole event around Kanto, the Kanto Tour, was to try to spark some extra excitement into the Kanto Tour, which, TBH, they did succeed in, with someone like me getting Kanto fatigue and actually enjoying that event. It definitely worked. We'll get more into it once I finish talking about Rosellia Community Day, though. I just figured those are the two things I'm going to be talking about for the rest of the podcast, so why not bring it up now? What else? Oh yeah! Shoutouts to Niantic for making Sinnoh Stones available. I like the new way that they're handling these evolution items for community days now. They just make a time research, where you just quickly do a bunch of tasks to get some of whatever evolution stone you need for that particular event. Keep it up. I kind of feel like that might have been something that fell under the radar with just how much focus on yet another shiny that we've already had. Also, the specialized bonus for this community day was any eggs you put in the incubators during the event, the distance that it took to hatch them was cut into a quarter. And that really played into a side feature that they had, where they basically allow you to hunt for a shiny Bidoof by making any eggs that you got during Community Day 2-kilometer eggs that hatch into Badoo. Apparently this is a bit more controversial take, but I like this sort of thing. Like, if you're going to have a Community Day around the Pokemon, but not make the baby form evolve or spawn in the wild, this is probably the next best way. Put in the lowest possible egg possible. Maybe, like, going forward, if we want to go real crazy, make a special Community Day egg that's a single kilometer. Maybe that's asking for too much, but I just figure I'd throw that out there. And make the hatch distance as short as possible so you can just rotate through them on your free incubator. I don't know why that's so hard for some people. You got an incubator for free that has unlimited uses. Why aren't people just putting their 2-kilometer eggs into them already? Why you have to use a super incubator on something that's going to hatch almost instantaneously, even in a normal incubator? You know who you are if you're listening and know who you are. As for the rest of the bonuses for Community Day that we've basically been getting every Community Day now, incense now lasts 3 hours whenever, at least during the period of the event, just so you'll have some source of spawns no matter what. There's an extra special research that you can buy for $1 to complement the event. And they also were selling a Community Day box, which is a terrible deal unless you're desperate for whatever Elite TM they decided to feature that particular month. This month was Elite Fast TM. Though, maybe this was the one that kind of had the quote-unquote best deal in a Community Day box. So I'll just read out the things that were in there just to see. 4 incense, 4 super incubators. Assuming that those were $1 each, that adds up pretty fast. 30 Ultra Balls, which, I mean, you can't exactly put a price value on, but you can buy Pokeballs in the shop. But like always, it's Elite Fast TM, which is usually only exclusive to Go Battle League, though lately also in research for very special events like the Kanto Tour, or in this case, shout out to the Kanto Tour makeup. I forgot that happened since the last time I recorded this podcast. All things considered with the Pokemon featured, I think they did everything they can to make the bonuses work with the Pokemon as best as possible. If you're tired of the Pokemon, I can get that. But I kind of am surprised that just like people are like, we're going wah for Rosellia when we just had all these. What made Rosellia the snapping point? And not Machop, I guess is the point I was getting at. Because I kind of felt with Machop that most people felt with Rosellia. And yet, I ended up having fun with both. Only thing I can think of that why people would defend Machop over Rosellia is viability. But honestly, like Rosellia, it's about as good as Machop these days. In fact, Rosellia plays a decent role both as a poison type and a grass type in the raid scene. And while Machamp has been a tried and true staple for a fighting type for a very long time, being practical and useful for gym battling and a lot of raids, it's been outclassed. Technically, if you have a Shadow Machamp, that outclasses all the normal Pokemon. But more normal Machamp by itself, like, sure, some people want to just grind a Candy XL for it, but what's even the point when, like, you got, like, Conkeldurr and Lucario that you're trying to get all that for? Like, maybe you want Candy XL for your Shadow Machamp, but I kind of feel like you see what I'm at least getting at? Just how it doesn't really feel fair that this was the Pokemon people decided to bully, when in my opinion, Shiny Rosellia looks much more nice than Machop. And Machop was a Kanto Pokemon that just like they keep going to for events after events after events. And Rosellia, I just feel like Machop has been featured a lot less, or Rosellia's been featured a lot less in events than Machop. Has a nicer shiny. Just as viable. for raiding and PvP. Maybe not PvP, but just as viable of a Pokemon in my opinion. And yet, everyone decided to bully Rosellia. That's just a part that I can't let go. At least what I've been hearing from secondhand from the rest of the community, it seems like once we actually played Rosellia Community, people were fine with it. But I still haven't forgotten just the initial reaction to Rosellia Community Day. And I kind of feel like it kind of, like, considering what the community day we got afterwards, I think we had a monkey paw scenario, to be perfectly honest. That said, that community day played out a bit better than I thought it would, the one in March, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. And to wrap up my thoughts on Rosellia Community Day, I kind of want to just go through what I got, because as I think as I might have talked about on the Go Battle League thing relating to Fletchling Community Day, Rosellia Community Day left me with a lot of good competition. Like, it was going to be hard to beat Rosellia Community Day. So let me just tell you what things like my Perfect PvP Ultra League IV Shiny Talonflame had to compete against. A Badoo that hatched into perfect IVs, non-shiny, but it was a perfect hatch. Pretty amazing in of itself. And then, like, I'm not sure, where's the other ones? Oh yeah, let's start from the Dairy Top, because that was a good one, but not the first thing. I think the first thing was, like, just as I was starting to do my walk, I was doing the Professor Willow, like, $1 extra special research. And I feel like this doesn't happen too often, but I got a shiny Rosellia out from that special research. And when I appraised it, it's practically the shiny's practically next to perfect. It's got 15, 14, 15. So might as well be just a perfect IV shiny Rosellia. And I'm not even going to bother with a count because I've been trying to slowly transfer them over to Pokemon Home whenever I can, so the count is kind of inaccurate at this point. I'll have to, like, try to make a mental note, or, like, a physical note that I can refer to later for future community days and that. Like, not Fletchling, but the one afterwards. After that Hundle hatch, though, I found the shiny Rosellia in the wild. And after evaluating it, it is very good for Ultra League. Like, in IV rank, it was, like, number 35. So that's 2 fantastic shinies I have to work around with. Along with, like, a lot of good non-shinies. Like, this PvP Ultra League one's not shiny, but is ranked 2. So it's kind of, like, just for bragging rights at this point, because the IV significance between, like, a rank 35 and a rank 2, it's probably so small that, like, I could probably just use the shiny and never notice the difference and be a lot more happy with it. But, like, I get fixated into numbers too, and it's kind of hard to forget sometimes. So I forget exactly how many shiny Rosellias I got. I just know that I started the day with a walk for Rosellia Community Day. And then, like, after a couple hours, I went back home and just did a live stream. So the overall experience was pretty nice. While I'm looking at shinies, though, I kind of want to, like, take an overall look at everything I got in February and held on to, at least before the Kanto Tour, if Shao said anything useful. Apparently I got my PvP Ultra League Leafeon since then. I gotta remember to, like, next time I see someone with a grass incense to evolve that up then. I think I finally decided to evolve my Cottonee, where that Pokemon is up. Got a nice Ultra League one. I found a friend that I was lucky friends with to finally train me a Galarian Darumaka. So I finally got myself a Galarian Duranitan that I was able to play around with a little bit, especially with all the Pokemon in raids currently, with the Tornadus and friends that are weak to ice. I did a lucky trait speaking of lucky friends, I did a lucky trade friend while the remote trading was still around, and when we swapped ciphers, I got a next to perfect cipher, 15, 15, 14, and it's shiny. So that's gonna make a fantastic Mega Scizor, whenever they decide to release that Mega. I'm keeping it as a cipher for now, just in case. Got a couple perfects along the way, like this Meowth. I held on to this shiny Sneasel. I'm just checking to see if it's good. Like, it's good, but not like Bull-swervy. Got a few Munas, did some. Just swapped around some Durantans and got Luckies out of them. Well, that event made them pretty popular. Oh! I feel kind of dumb for not, like, being. Wasn't this also, like, the Legendary Bird thing where you get TM frustration? Yeah, but that's a little bit later. I only bring it up because I got a really nice Great Link IV Shadow build them. I don't know if I would ever use a Shadow Metagross for the Great Link, but that's kind of a thing I guess worth bringing up. I have this Vulpix start. I don't think it's shiny. Not any good. Kind of wonder why I have it starred. Oh well. And I think like after this point I get into the Kanto Tour, like Pokemon and Spawns Adapt. So I think I'm gonna like take another break. And when we come back, it'll be a good time to talk about the Kanto Tour a bit. This is already going a bit longer than I thought, so probably won't be as long as I'd like, but we'll see how much I can get out there. I just want to get as much as I can out in this podcast. That way, just to get caught up in all that. See y'all in a sec. So, for the Kanto event, long story short, I liked it. It was a nice outing. Kind of wonder if I should have spent more time out instead of, like, trying to do the stream from home, because that was trying to do the streaming was a bit of a mess in of itself, unfortunately. But that said, I was out for a good chunk of the day, so it's not like I missed out on all that completely. But I kind of wonder if I would have had even more fun if I just skipped the stream and just hanged out outside the entire time. Then again, if the stream would have worked, I probably wouldn't be having this discussion. Hopefully that won't be an issue going forward, considering of all the improvements that I've made with my computer being able to receive internet, and hopefully that have been made with the internet itself. But enough about, like, things that only relate to me. How about just some more general thoughts on the opinion of the event in general? First and foremost, the music made the event for me. Like, it was kind of interesting to, like, have a jump between have, like, themed spawns every hour and rotate between them each. But the music actually made it feel like you were in those areas. Pallet Town and the Indigo Plateau and Cerulean City. The spawns helped, but it was really the music that kind of just tied the event together for me. Honestly, like, they could do... If they have the ability, it would have been even more amazing if they went even more on top of just, like, maybe, like, having more visual effects that kind of made the area feel like you're going through these various areas of Kanto. A bit of a stretch, I know, but just... I really want to emphasize the fact that what made this event special wasn't necessarily the Pokemon, because, I mean, having everything be a shiny check was exciting. But with Kanto being around for the longest, and not having control over the shinies, and the fact that so many Kanto Pokemon were featured in community days, it kind of, like, in my opinion at least, it took a little bit of the... what's the term? I don't know if, like, took away the hype is a good example, because it really didn't. But it just made, like, at the end of the day, when playing and reflecting on everything I got, when you see, like, more than half of all the shinies that you got were just Community Day Pokemon, that does take a little bit of the wins out of the sail. Especially when there's a lot of Kanto shiny Pokemon that you don't actually have. Seeing all the Pokemon that you could have gotten, only to realize your shiny collection is just full of various Community Day Pokemon, ciphers that you already had like a couple before this event even started. Like, it kind of, like, the only thing that could have made, it's a little weird, I feel a little weird to bring up this criticism because it just feels like complaining over something petty. But I just brought it up because I kind of wish that there was a way to, like, focus the hunt a little bit more. Maybe, like, maybe it's because, maybe I just shot myself in the foot going for the red version just for that hat and the childhood sentimental I have with red version. When I knew, but well before, that green version had more of the shiny Pokemon that I didn't already have. The reason that I was like waiting so long that the freaking hat was what finally made me decide between red and green was kind of just the fact that like green had more of the shinies that I needed. Red had the shinies I didn't have in red though were some of the cooler ones like Ponia and Growlithe and Hitmonchan, and of course I didn't get any of those. Well, I think Hitmonchan was green version, but Ponia and Growlithe were two that really stick out in my mind as shinies that I was looking for a long period of time. And of course, even though I went with red, I didn't get either of them. I did get the Hitmonlee, which is pretty cool. And I got Tangela, which was a shiny that I was really going for during GoFest that eluded me. So, like, it's kind of bittersweet because it's nice to finally get it, but at the same time, like, where were you during GoFest? You know what? I've been too lazy to actually transfer anything over to Let's Go Eevee since Kanto Tour happened, so I can just, like, scroll for the shiny and tell you what I mean. Like, Ekans was a big victim. I think I got at least 2 shiny Ekans throughout the time frame of the Kanto Tour. Yeah, and the issue is, like, I already had, like, at least 2 shiny Ekans well before the event. Like, it felt like one of the more common ones. No, I think 3, because I think, like, one of them I have actually evolved for that specific research. So, yeah, like, I got 3 shiny Ekans when that was, like, one of the shinies that I could have used the least. Cypher's another example. I know I got 2 shiny Cyphers, despite having 2 shiny Cyphers already. And Kabuto, like, I don't want to complain about Kabuto, because I really like that shiny, but between Kabuto and Allemite, I already had a shiny Kabuto, and Allemite was the one that I needed of the fossil Pokemon, which you may be saying, Jack K, why didn't you go with green version if, like, there's so many shinies? If you're just complaining about shinies that you already had, that you could have avoided if you went with the green version. Like I said, I already stated that green version had the cool stuff, but... Or, like, green had the ones I quote-unquote needed, but red had the cool stuff that I wanted to take the gamble for. And again, like, I was just so conflicted for so long, it came down to the hat and just liking the color red over the color green for the hat. But as a tangent aside, yeah, Mankey is another one. Again, I feel like I think the reason my complaint is what it is a lot of the Pokemon that were exclusive Incense and Shiny boosted for the red version were ones I already had, and yet I went with the red version. So I guess in that sense it's my fault. It wouldn't hurt to, like, have some way to pinpoint it down a little bit more, though. I did get a shiny Hitmonlee, which was released for this event alongside with Hitmonchan, so that was neat, that was cool. And Curse Stream to Hypno. Curse frickin' Stream to Hypno. It's not like I even need a shiny Hypno. Because, one, already had a shiny Drowsy that I was so disgusted to actually get that I just transferred it to home as quickly as possible and just stuffed in the corner. Because, like, I couldn't release it because it's a shiny I didn't have, but I didn't want to see it. And then there's, like, Sierra that actually, like, I was trying to avoid Sierra back when she had Shadow Drowsy specifically, because if there was a shiny Shadow that I was going to get from the leaders, Drowsy was the one I wanted the least. So, of course, there was, like, one community day a while back ago that I was just my own business. I had the balloon come to me or something, like, Sierra was the only option to fight in the area, so I just, like, did it, because, like, what's the harm of doing one Sierra? And, of course, that's where I got the shiny Shadow Drowsy. I mean, yeah, I kind of definitely feel petty right now, just complaining about shiny Shadow Drowsy. But again, anything besides that, there is one repeat shiny that I won't complain about, and that is a shiny Squirtle I got. Like, all the starters that were around is so prominent. I could have gotten all of them. All my shinies could have been like shiny Squirtle, Charmander, and Bulbasaur. But I only got one shiny starter, and that was the shiny Squirtle. And out of the three, for some reason, it feels like shiny Squirtle is the one I had the least of. Again, it's probably just because I transferred on Let's Go. But I kind of already had in the back of my head before Kanto Tour started that, okay, I'm probably going to get a starter. I hope that is at least shiny Squirtle and not like shiny Charmander when I already got a bazillion and a perfect shiny Hundo. And sure enough, got myself a shiny Squirtle. Cute little fella. Yeah, okay, I definitely got real caught up in the shiny talk when that wasn't. I swear that wasn't even like the main draw of the event. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been happy with it, despite the good stuff I got from it. I think the really cool thing about it was the raids. On one hand, it's a little rough to just like jump between raiding and catching. I don't think it bothered me as much as it bothered other people, but that was a common complaint that I saw within the community. And I am on the side of like the regional. If we were required to get the regionals for the collection challenge, they shouldn't have been in raids. They especially shouldn't have been in raids for one day. I would have been happy to see them come around, even when they quote unquote brought the raid Pokemon back. They only like kept them to their particular region. So if you didn't have a friend in Australia that could send you a remote invite and you didn't do it during the Kanto Tour day, you were out of luck. Thankfully, like, I got all that taken care of. I am a little salty about. There is one thing I was a little salty about, and that's just like something within my own control. I already because I have 3 stars can be soloed if you have a proper team and leveled up. I was able to take care of them just fine by myself, but I kind of but just for the fun of it, just to let other people have the opportunity to raid them with someone, I was sending remote invites. And a local person took a remote invite for one that I was just doing on my free passes for free. And then they kind of forced me to do a remote raid with them for a regional, and that just upset me more than it should have, because I'm very stingy with my remote raid passes. I have so many friends that are non-local that if I am gonna do a non-legendary raid, and even with legendary raids, I really prefer to do them with non-local people so I could at least remote trade them around. But I kind of was left under the impression that they felt that because they helped me, that I had to help them. And that just left me a little angry because I didn't want to do the remote raid, but I kind of felt bad that they might need the help. I don't know. I kind of just wish that, like, they gave us remote raid passes for the event, so I can't complain. But I still just, part of me kind of regrets doing that one remote raid for a non-legendary regional. Then again, that person also helped me a little bit with the trading part of the research, so you know what, just forget what I said. They helped me, just not in a traditional sense. And right now, we're not at a point where remote raids are more expensive than the normal raid pass is, so it evens out as far as I'm concerned. Trying to get off the tangent of complaining about an event that I like, the legendary Pokemon that were around were pretty cool. It's nice to shiny hunt for them at the very least, get more candies for Mewtwo, get way more Side Strike Mewtwo's than I know what to do with. And a really huge point that I gotta give Niantic was all the free local passes. I think that really just made the rating a lot less stressful than it would have been, because, like, you had to do, unlike the Valentine's Day, I'm never going to forget the Valentine's Day collection, but unlike the Valentine's Day collection, you actually had more passes for free than you needed to complete the collection challenge. Just doing the math up in my head, there's 3 legendary birds, and I think they gave you 10 free raid passes. I'm not sure of the exact number, because I never even got through all my free passes during the whole time frame I was out. But you got 3 remote raid passes, and then the 10 free passes. You had to do, for a collection challenge, you had to catch one of each of the legendary birds, Mewtwo, and each of the Kanto regionals. So, Tauros, Kangaskhan, Farfetch. I could have sworn that there's like one other regional that I'm just not coming to mind right now. Is it really just Tauros, Farfetch, and Kangaskhan? I guess it's just Tauros, Farfetch, and Kangaskhan, and I'm just thinking of the fact that Snorlax. Let me stop the praise for a second to just talk about the curveball that was Snorlax. Like, it's pretty. I wasn't really too concerned because, like, it was in a couple of the special research in that, but it's so weird because it was actually in Tier 4 raids. We have not seen Tier 4 raids since they reinvented the whole raid system and pretty much killed 2-star and 4-star raids. Just condensed the 1-star and 2-star together, condensed 3-star and 4-star together to give a proper slot for Mega Evolution raids without, like, overcluttering the rating system. There has not been a Tier 4 raid since then, but there was a Tier 4 Snorlax raid. Really weird. And the thing about Tier 4 is those are impossible to solo. Doesn't matter. Like, and Snorlax, maybe like a super hardcore player could take care of a Tier 4 raid if it was a super frail Pokemon, but I'm pretty sure Snorlax would be too bulky for even the best of players. So, like, you had to get a group together, and, like, we're still in COVID times, Niantic. Not exactly the best time to, like, throw a Tier 4 raid out there. I feel like they can get away a bit more with raising that with remoting, but why would people want to waste their remote raid passes on a Snorlax when you could do a Mewtwo? Like, I mean, if I knew I had the people around to do it, I would have happily done a Snorlax raid. But people were more inclined to do right. If you're going to have a group of people, they'd be more inclined to do the legendary birds or Mewtwo. I know I would feel that way. So even though I would do a Snorlax raid with one of my seamlessly endless amount of free raid passes, if I don't have the people to do it with, I'm not gonna have anyone to deal with. And I don't blame them, because there's just all these cool Pokemon just popping in and out over and over and over. And I guess let me just get the criticisms out of the rating out of the way before I get back. Like, the way that they do the low raid timers is just a bittersweet pill to me. Like, the pros is that you rotate through raid bosses faster. The downside is that you rotate through raid bosses faster. To elaborate, this is a perfect system for an event like this, because no matter where you play, even if you don't have a lot of gems, you still have a fair shot at getting the collection challenge done, because if a Pokemon you don't need for it isn't there, just wait like maybe 15 minutes, half an hour at most, and you got a new raid boss popping up at the gym. The downside of the low raid timer is that it makes it a lot harder to coordinate remote raids. Unless you're right on top of it right when it hatches, there's a chance that by the time you got a group together, the raid boss would have already been gone. I was fortunate enough to have a good enough group that this wasn't an issue too often for me, but I have heard other people not be as fortunate. And I know that like if we didn't have like a really organized Discord group within the Pokemon Go podcast community, I can imagine that sort of thing happening a lot, just like trying to text local friends and get them to meet up for a raid or something like that. Again, in a time period where we're actually able to go out together as a group and not be terrible people, this sort of thing would have worked out a lot better. I don't know why I just feel so critical over this event. It makes it sound like I didn't have any fun, when the exact opposite is true. I guess just like a lot of the fun I had with the event was just the experience of it. When you like take away the experience, just break down what you get out of it and not what you did in it. It kind of... Ugh. I guess what I'm trying to say is it just feels that way because what you got out of it is kind of lacking, but the experience you had doing it was fantastic. And even then, what you got out of it was really good and totally worth the value. I just know I would have gotten more out of something like a Gold Fest that wasn't focused around the region that I am most fatigued about and probably need the least amount of Pokemon for. But let's keep the focus on the good and actually try to prove my point that this was a good event. Again with the raid passes. Raid passes were great. Please do this every time I have to pay $12 for an event. Like, if you give me 10 raid passes for a $12 event, and especially if you give some incense on top of that, you at least justified the dollar value, which was kind of what I was most worried about pre-ordering the tickets so far in advance, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, I'm just going through what I got. Just a legendary Pokemon alone. Which one is where's Kanto Tour? Pardon me. Began with. Oh yeah, I guess this cipher would have been the first shiny, so let's go from there. 1 Mewtwo, 2 Mewtwo, 3 Mewtwo, 4. All this time and still a little more. An Articuno Moltres to boo through the Bix. Mewtwo number 5. Articuno number 2. Mewtwo number 7. You may notice the pattern of the heaven. Is this Mewtwo number 8? Yeah, that's great. And Shiny Diddle at the end marks the end, because I was so busy with the Kanto Tour, I didn't even get around finishing the special research to get Shiny Diddle until a little after the fact. And even when I did, I held on to it a little bit. No, I think I actually did finish it right on stream, but I was so out of Great Ball, so I decided to wait a day until I restocked. so I could catch this shiny blue Diddle in the blue Great Ball. It just wouldn't have felt fitting if I did it any other way. And while I'm just like bashing the things I love so much, can we like take a second to talk about the fact that like your special research for going through all the research stuff, including shiny Diddle, was a normal Diddle? That was odd. Like, at that point, like, I already got the shiny Diddle, so, like, it wasn't, like, a bad thing. Just a weird thing. And before I, like, go through, like, everything that happened in between Kanto Tour and the Legendary Bird thing afterwards, yeah, it probably looked like I did more with all those Legendary Raids and the extra Mewtwo's. You may be wondering, Jackie, you did more than 10 raids. Why? How you not run out of passes? Again, a lot of that stuff was remote. Like, there was only 2 legendaries I really was hunting for. That was Mewtwo, because Mewtwo is Mewtwo. Not only is the shiny cool, but you can never have too much candy of that thing. So, even with a remote raid pass, it felt worthwhile, even though I'm pretty sure I spent more remote raid passes than the game gave me just because of that. And Articuno's the one Kanto Legendary Shiny. I do not have the shiny form yet. So, like, even though I did 2, like, if I could find more and actually have the people to do more of those with, I would have done more. I guess that is another thing that, from what I've been gathering from other people's podcasts, was a common criticism of the Kanto Tour. Just the fact that it was so hard to, like, the raiding conflicted with, like, the catching. So, like, if there wasn't all these cool spawns to go after, I probably would have done more raiding. If there wasn't so many cool raids to do, I would have done more catching of the wild Pokemon. This kind of feel like I missed out a little on both, because I couldn't focus completely on one or the other. And I guess it's a good time to just throw the trainers in there. I didn't even bother with the time research tied to the Kanto Tour trainers. Like, I got a little bit in, but it's a cool novelty, but the novelty just got old, and like the rewards for like fighting the trainers the rewards for fighting the trainers actually were kind of worthwhile. Like, they managed to be completely different, a different tone than fighting a Rocket Grunt, but still feel just as worthwhile in their own way. If only just because, like, I kind of, like, can never have too many Pokeballs. But for those who can have too many Pokeballs, I can imagine those trainers getting old. And besides, like, if you're actually playing out in an area with a lot of stops, like you should, if it's safe to do so, for an event like this, you didn't really need a trainer. You could have spin the stops. Ideally with a Pokeball Plus or Gotcha, so you could avoid the animations of the trainers coming in and exiting out and all that. It's a really cool novelty, to the point where I can't get mad even if it, like, got in the way of the experience a little bit. I just like, people did end up having to choose between, like, interacting with the trainers to complete the special research and actually getting to enjoy the game, and I kind of just went with the latter. Like, I think I got through, like, 2 steps of it, and completely forgot about it until, like, just before I was about to go home. And even though I could have, like, stayed out another hour or so, just to, like, finish up the special research and do the trainers and that, I was like, I wanted to do my live stream. Little knowing just how much of a colossal mess trying to get that stream going would be. It's not that important that I finish this time research. And yeah, that's just that. Shouts to Cursed Strem. Cursed Strem the Drowsy. Like, the fact I got a shiny Drowsy trying to set up that mess of a stream, kind of inevitable in of itself. I probably won't transfer them as much as I want to get rid of all my shiny Drowsies. Just because it's just way too ironic. It's so ironic that there's humor that be had from it. Who knows, maybe someday I'll find someone who really wants a shiny Drowsy, and we could just swap it away. There's things I can do with this thing. Well, I got so caught up in complaining, I forgot what I was talking about. It's like I'm the internet or something. Oh yeah, trainers. I guess I brought up the trainers just because it added on to a point I was making earlier of the common criticism. Just like there's a lot to do, and a lot to do is good for something that you paid a lot of money for. But the lots of things to do were just so drastically different that like you kind of felt like you're missing out on the other features trying to engage with the one. And this sort of event could have been done better spread out. Like I heard some people like suggest the idea of having it be a 2-day thing, where like one day is just focused around catching and the other day is focused around raiding and other activities like the trainers. I could see a cool way for that to work out. In fact, like you could probably like do more with the trainers if they had their own day for the Kanto Tour. Like instead of just being a way to get Pokeballs, now like increase the amount of special research on day 2, just for fighting those trainers. Maybe like they wouldn't. You obviously wouldn't catch Pokemon from them, but maybe like get like little. Maybe you could like build up something special, and once you fought like 5 of them, you were able to do a legendary Pokemon. Just a random idea to throw out there. Yeah, and I guess like it's always nice to go out when you can actually get the opportunity to do so. Anyways, back to everything that happened now. I'm almost at an hour. And I just got done talking about the Kanto Tour. I shouldn't be surprised, but it's kind of like, oh, I just completely forgot. There's no way I'm going to remember everything that happened in Kanto Tour so long ago. Apparently not. Let's see. Shoutouts to the... on the tangent of just getting, like, good luck with lucky shiny traits. Shoutouts to Blue Pinch, my new shiny lucky pincer. It has the weirdest story too. Like on the tangent of like being distracted with so many things in the Kanto Tour that I inevitably missed out on things. I struggled with the trading part, despite the fact that the distance for trading was increased and like everyone could do trades. Half the problem was like a lot of my local friends, by the time I reached out to them the following day, they already transferred all their Pokemon. They transferred everything I needed to trade with them to complete the trading part of the Kanto Tour. To the point where, like, I was so desperate to get a pincer for the collection challenge, I decided just to shiny swap shiny pincers with a friend. Good thing I did, though, because when we swapped, we were not lucky friends, mind you. I just swapped shiny pincers because, like, why not? I need to get pincer checked off. If this seems to be, like, the only way I'm gonna do it. The IVs on my shiny pincer are bad. What's the worst that could happen? Not only did we get lucky out of normal trade, this shiny lucky pincer I'm now the proud owner of, has an IV spread of 14, 15, 15. Man! Like, so close to a perfect. And man, like, even though I know I'm never gonna notice the difference, if I could just swap the attack with the defense or HP, that would just make it so much more exciting. But still way more than I could have ever asked for just from a simple pincer swap. Yes, I did eventually... Remember that story of just how I was getting secretly mad at a local for making me waste a remote raid pass on a regional that I didn't really want? Well, it's a good thing I kept that anger secret, because this was the only person that didn't already transfer all their Kanto Tour Pokemon. So he ended up getting me out of the bind of just getting the Pokemon I needed, which I should have saw coming, because, like, I tried to make myself feel a bit better about wasting a remote raid pass early on, just to, like, let's do trading. I need to do trading for the Kanto Tour anyways. And this is, like, the only trade I did during Kanto Tour. I'm glad I did. Because this person, minus like the Shine Pincer trade I did, this person got me all the other, did the trades for all the other Pokemon I need. And I feel kind of bad because there was like a couple other local friends that reached out to me. And while I held on to some of them, like, they had the same version I did, so I didn't have as many. I couldn't trade them all the Pokemon they needed. And I felt bad that I couldn't just, like, get the good karma rolling around and help other people complete their trading. Hopefully they found other people after I traded them what I could. I'm not sure how to avoid that sort of thing besides not having it in there at all. It's just, they did everything they could to make trading as accessible as possible, and yet just a lot of people are just way too caught up actually playing the event to actually do so. And because storage is a limited resource, no matter how much you buy, the game has trained us. The game has trained us to transfer things we don't need. So why hold on to things you don't need unless you're intentionally making an intentional effort to hold on to these Pokemon to trade with other people? As you could tell from my scenario, not everyone did that. And I think that's like about all the good I had with the Kanto Tour. Quick shout out to this is going on pretty long, so I do want to like talk about the Legendary Bird raid day that they had afterwards. Like, it was a nice event, and I'll admit, like, at first I was kind of like really more Kanto when I first heard them announce that they were gonna like keep some of the spawns going and make a whole mini event after the Kanto Tour of more Kanto. But it turned out to be a saving grace for me and a lot of other people that didn't quite have everything that they needed to finish the collection challenge. And just the Legendary Bird raid hour is a nice way to top things off. Like, I didn't use any. The game gave me more passes than what I needed to actually enjoy the event, which I well appreciate. Part of it was because, like, near, like, the last couple hours, everyone already had their fill, and it was really hard to actually find people to do the raids with, but it is what it is. Remembering what I was saying before of how Articuno was the one legendary Pokemon that I didn't have the shiny for in the Kanto region? Well, that's kind of the thing. Like, I was going into this event with the mindset of my focus is mostly going to be around Articuno because that's the one shiny I still need. Also want to, like, spend some time with Giovanni because they, for some reason, decided, like, let's have Raze and Team Rocket happen at the same time. There's no way that's going to cause, like, conflict of gameplay and cause people to miss out on one or the other. No, that's not going to be an issue. In their defense, like, the Rocket thing wasn't really as urgent. Like, it would definitely help you get through the Giovanni research they released on that day, but you could work on that after the event. The one thing is, like, the big thing is that you could TM away frustration. Before I get on that tangent though yet, the whole build up to say that literally the first raid I did was an Articuno, and that first raid was the one that gave me the Articuno, which is really awesome. Kind of left me with a, what do we do now? Apparently I had no problem doing like 3 to 5 more legendary raids. Do like 3 to 4 more raids after that. Of course I have no issue. And of course I like get so caught up in raiding and a little bit of rockets that I completely forget for the first time since the feature was introduced, to TM away frustration while the move was TMable away. I blame the fact that there was raids going, that it was so raid focused that I didn't even get a chance to think about TMing away frustration. Which sucks because I even had like a whole like list of tags prepared of Pokemon that I want to TM away, including a lot of good stuff like, let me see, I know there's like at least one incredible thing here. That Shadow Vileplume that I was using for Kanto Cup and a few other GBL things. I was using that despite having frustration. I was finally going to get rid of that and be able to have Moonblast as well. Nope. Forgot about that. Shadow Swinub, which honestly is for the best because the IVs in this isn't that great, and I'll probably catch a new even way better Shadow Swinub by the next event, but nope, forgot about that. And that PvP IV Beldum that I was bringing up before, that, like, why would I use a Shadow Metagross in Great League? But I mean, like, it's good IV, so it'd be cool to TM away. Nope, forgot. Ah well. Considering that those were, like, the big things I was missing out on, hopefully we won't have to, like, wait another half a year for another chance to TM away frustration. It kind of, like, feels like they're a bit more stringent than they should be, because, like, the previous Team Rocket event that had a huge Team Rocket emphasis, you couldn't TM away frustration from. Like, that's a whole discussion of itself, and I'm kind of like, oh man, we're at an hour-long podcast. I think I just want to wrap this up. Oh yeah, and like, Gibble came into a thing at March, which is cool. Landorus and friends started coming out. Eventually, I got the Shadow Articuno. Not really that great. Think I have better ones. But I'm pretty confident that they're gonna, like, give us more opportunities to get Giovanni by the time Moltres and Zapdos come around. It's not like I already have more Shadow Moltres and Zapdos than I know what to do with. So, worst case scenario is not too bad if I miss out on it, but I don't know what I was even getting at with that. So that's all I got for February. Hopefully you don't mind, like, all my rambling. I have to emphasize, because I feel really bad, because I felt like I spent more time criticizing the Kanto Tour than I did complimenting it, but I really enjoyed the Kanto Tour, and I'm especially looking forward to an event like it that's not focused around Kanto Pokemon, especially, like, if it's focused around shinies that I don't really have already. I think, like, the fact that we've had so many Kanto-themed community days makes it a lot harder for people not to get shiny, or for people to get shinies that they already, like, are fatigued by, if that makes any sense. But, like, emphasizing the good points. I'm supposed to be emphasizing the good points, not the bad points. I love the idea of the collection challenge. It actually gave me a reason to care for the Kanto Pokemon again. Even the Evolve thing wasn't so bad, because a thing I completely overlooked was there was actually candy bonuses. I guess I didn't mention it because, like, it's kind of more just like, what's the term? Not rubber banding, but different Pokemon, like, had different candy bonuses, mostly to try to make it so, like, no matter what you're catching, as long as you caught, like, 2 or 3, you're able to do the evolution for. Prime example is Magikarp, a Pokemon that normally takes, like, 400 candies, and you're getting, like, I forget exactly how many candies, but you're getting so many candies just from a single Magikarp that as long as you were catching stuff, even if you already had it for the collection challenge, you should have no problem evolving stuff. Obviously, it's hard for someone like me who's already, like, stockpile on candies of Kanto Pokemon that they didn't even need to pay attention to that, minus what they call off the corner of their eye. As much as a newer player, or a player that plays more casually, or stop caring about catching the Kanto Pokemon once they actually got the Pokedex entries. But from what I saw, it seemed pretty generous, and I've seen other people bring up this point and, like, compliment it and really give it all the praise in the world. So yeah, like, trading was the only one I was kind of iffy about. But they did, in their defense, they did everything they could to make trading as accessible as possible for this event. I guess just the problem isn't necessarily, like, the problem's not the distance, it's having the friends to trade. And for some people, they never got into their local communities or never found their local communities, making it even harder for them to actually complete the trading research, even though they had all the opportunity to do so. And even people like me who had local friends got so caught up in all the other things going on with the event, because there were such more fun things to do than try to find people to trade with, that part kind of got them caught up too. Love the theming. I forgot to even mention that, like, the music just hit the nostalgia button perfectly. Like, they were remixes, but they had just, you know how Pokemon Go does remixes, where it's practically like the same music from the original game, but they just have a tiny Pokemon Go flair to them, and just hit the nostalgia in all the right places. Like, I had tears in my eyes when I first heard the Palatown theme that they had. It's weird, but that's just how it is. So, while I don't expect them to do, like, a Johto tour anytime soon or something like that, I do hope they, like, take all the good that came out of the Kanto tour and apply it on events in the future. Like, oh, shoot, I forgot about the other major criticism, even though I said I was done with the bad. Like, it's not even a problem with the event as much as just the UI of the game in general. Just, there's way too much stuff in the Today tab, because that's the only place that they have to put this sort of thing. If someone reminds me, I've been thinking about how to improve the UI of Pokemon Go for a while, so if someone reminds me, I'll happily do that for an editorial topic. It's just this podcast has been going way too long as is. So thank you all for tuning in for letting this February retrospective, and more so just letting me ramble about Rosellia Community Day, and even more so the Kanto Tour. Here's hoping that month and events in the future get even better. Take care.